Okay, so today this is operational amplifier 2 second class. In the last day we discussed about this problem regarding a design of a system with 2 poles and 1 0, and 0 was supposed to be at the 10 times higher position than GB, and so what should be the position of the second pole so that phase margin is 60 degree. So we have solved this problem. Okay, this result we will use it later, that P2 should be greater than equals to 2.2 GB. That is for the boundary condition we will take that P2 equals to 2.2 GB for the boundary condition. So today's topic is design rules of a two-stage op-amp. Okay, so this is the basic schematic of a two-stage op-amp which you all know from the previous class. So here we have taken some assumption that small gm1 and equals to gm2 equals to capital GM1. That means the transconductance of these M1 and M2 transistors are same, and same is for the M3 and M4. That means GM3 and GM4 are same. Okay, we are taking these assumption, and aspect ratio are also same for the M3 and M4 and for the M1 and M2. Okay, so now this is the basic requirements which a designer should know after his design is completed. Okay, so this is what are those requirements, that is gain, bandwidth, settling time, slew rate, common mode range, power supply rejection ratio, output voltage swing, output resistance, offset, noise and layout area. Some of these some of the information you will be provided from the specification, and rest of these information you have to find out. Okay, so the things you are supplied, that is the specification, and the things you have found out, both of them combined to give you the basic requirements for a two-stage op-amp. So after your design is completed you should know all these things. Okay, these are the boundary conditions, that is the power supply and voltage supply, maximum voltage supply, VDD, VSS is the reference voltage which I told you yesterday. I am giving you some thumb rule for the VDD. It is basically dependent upon the technology you are using. The thumb rule is basically there is a simple relationship between the technology and the voltage supply, maximum power supply. That is for there are different types of technology, 250 nanometer technology or 180 nanometer technology, 130 nanometer technology. For 250 nanometer technology the power supply is basically near about 2.4 volt. For 180 nanometer 0.18 micron, that is 1.8 volt. For 0.13 micron, that is 1.2 volt for that, and so on. Okay, so basically near about 10 times of the technology. 0.25 micron is the micron is I am leaving that part. So 0.25 is the technology, so power supply will be near about 10 times, that means 2.4 volt. For the 0.18 micron technology, that is this is the power supply, you will be near about 1.8 volt. Okay, so this is not in a designer's hand, that can't be controlled by a designer because this is a technology parameter, we can't change that. VSS is same thing, that is the reference point, reference voltage, that is also specified by the technology. Supply current range, process specific parameters, that is the threshold voltage, Kp, Kn, value of Kp, Kn and Cox, these all are the technology parameters, the process parameters that you are using. So this is not in our hand. Okay, these will be provided to you whenever our process will be chosen to design something. And the operating temperature range, the temperature range at which your design should work properly. Okay, the temperature range, these all things a designer should know, but they can change, he can change that. This is the technology or the process parameter that we are using. Now these are the important design formula which you should keep it in mind during the design. Slew rate, which I told in the last class, that slew rate is basically that I5 by Cc. These GM1, GM2, I5, I4, all these things were specified in these schematic, that M3 the GM3 means associated with this M3 transistor, GM1 means transconductance associated with the M1 transistor. I5 means the current flowing through the M5 transistor. Clear? So the basic notation is known to us. So here the first stage, I am just brushing up the formula that AV1, the first stage gain was GM1 divided by GDS2 plus GDS4. Yesterday I just told you the formula that GM1 whole into R02 parallel R04. Basically R02 parallel R04, R02 parallel R04. Okay, what is this thing? Say this is R01, capital R01, this thing. So basically what is this? R02 plus 1 by R04, that is equal to 1 by capital this thing. What is this thing? GDS1 plus GDS2, that is equal to 1 by R0, capital R01. So what is R01? That is basically 1 by GDS1 plus GDS2. So here from we can get that the first stage gain was from the yesterday formula R02 divided this thing, so which is coming something like this. This is 2 and 4. This is 2 and 4. GDS2 plus GDS4. Clear? And what is GDS? GDS is lambda into Id. In the last class I told that any of the formula we need to use. Same thing happens for the second stage gain also. GM6 whole into R06 parallel R07. So it is replaced by that GDS6 and GDS7. Okay. So overall voltage gain will be AV1 multiplied by AV2. Anyway, leave that part. What was the output pole? That means P2. What was the formula? I am going back. P2 was something. P2 was minus GM2 CC divided by CC into C1 plus CL plus C1 CL. Is it visible? Yeah. C1 plus. What is capital GM2? Which I just told you that is GM6. It is specified in that schematic diagram. It's in here that we have chosen that here. Small GM6 is equal to capital GM2. Okay. So basically what we are left with, that this is minus GM6. CC is the compensation capacitor. And what about C1? C1 is basically the parasitic capacitance related to the first stage, parasitic capacitance. But right now, for throughout our calculation, we will leave that part. I mean that parasitic capacitance we should not consider. Okay, so this whole thing cancels out. This C1, we are just neglecting this part. So what we are left with, CC into CL, that is minus GM6 divided by CL. Okay, this is basically P2. Clear? What about Z1? Z1, yesterday I told you that capital GM2 divided by CC. So capital GM2 is basically small GM6. So Z1 is basically GM6 divided by CC. Okay. Now what is the gain bandwidth product? Gain bandwidth means GB means AV, that is the gain, into minus 3 dB bandwidth. What is that minus 3 dB bandwidth? That is the position of the P1. Okay, the frequency of the P1. P1 is the first pole. So that is minus 3 dB bandwidth will be given by the position of the first pole. And what is the voltage gain? AV. AV is nothing but, which I just told you, that GM1 into R02 parallel R04 into GM6 into R06. Okay, I am just going to the second page because it's AV into F minus 3 dB. So AV is basically GM1 into R02 parallel R04 into GM6 into R06 parallel R07. And what about P1? What is the value of P1? Value of P1, we can write it from here. Capital R01 means small R02 parallel R04, equivalent of those two. So I am writing that equation. For P1, this is R02 parallel R04 into capital GM2 means small GM6. What about capital R02? R02 basically the parallel combination of R06 and parallel R07, equivalent resistance of those two. So R06 parallel R07, and at the end there is a CC. Okay, at the end of the there is CC. So R02 parallel, these one cancels out, GM6 cancels out. So what we are left with? Simple GM1 divided by CC. Okay. So this is our GB. These three things we need to calculate everything during the design. These three things are very basic formula, that P2 is equal to minus GM6 by CL, Z1 equals to GM6 by CC, GB equals to GM1 by CC. Okay. What is the saturation voltage? Saturation voltage you can easily determine from the equation of the saturation current, that is IDS equal to beta by 2 VDS square. What is beta? Beta means basically mu n Cox whole into W by L. Okay, so IDS sat basically beta by 2 into VGS minus VT, that is basically VDS sat. So VDS sat square. So what is VDS sat? Saturation voltage, saturation VDS is basically twice IDS divided by beta, root over. And this is the CMR value, that means VN common mode range. Positive means the maximum voltage, input voltage that we can detect. Yes, in the last day I just told you that the value near about for the NMOS DFAM, that is basically near about 0.8 volt, and the maximum 1.6 volt for the positive CMR, and for the negative CMR it's near about 0.8 volt. Okay, and the basic thing is that all the transistors in the two stage op amp should be in saturation for the proper operation. Okay. Now this is the specification which you have given, which you will be given this specification. So gain at I mean DC gain, open loop gain will be given to you, gain bandwidth, input common mode range, that is ICMR, load capacitance CL, slew rate SR, output voltage swing, and power dissipation you should calculate after the output voltage swing and power dissipation. You will be provided that thing, but after the design is done you will just check it out whether your the specification you have met it or not. Okay. So first thing is slew rate. Rest of the requirements you need to find out. I just told from here that some of them are given from the specification, and rest of the things we need to find out. First thing, the calculation of CC. In the last class I told you that the accurate value of CC is a critical issue, determining the value of CC, because CC plays an important role during the design of an op amp. Okay, so how can I determine the value of CC? Yesterday I derived an important relationship, this thing, P2 equals to 2.2 GB. I just started with that thing today. P2 equals to 2.2 GB. Now what is P2? P2 means, just a little time back I derived that GM6 divided by CL. And what is GB? GM1 divided by CC. Okay. Now the right up pole 0, right up plane 0, that is Z1 was nearly 10 times higher than GB. Okay, for a good design Z1 should be far away from the GB, and we are assuming that this is 10 times. From our last day problem it was 10 times higher than GB. So what is that relationship? Z1 means GM6 divided by CC, and it is 10 times higher than GM1 divided by CC for the GB. So CC cancels out, so GM6 basically 10 times GM1. Okay, so I am putting that value here, and from simple calculation we are getting that this is basically 0.22 CL. This is the boundary condition. So CC should be greater than 0.22 CL. This is our primary design rule, first design step. So at first we will choose that CC is equal to 0.22 CL initially. Then we will go for tail current. What is the tail current? That is the I5. I5 means in the circuit we have seen that the current through the M5 transistor, that is the tail current. Okay, that means ITEL is equal to I5. I5 is I am telling that about tail current. So in the calculation I will just put I5, and in the final value I will just replace it with the tail ITEL. Okay, so what is that ITEL? Yesterday I told you that slew rate is basically the ratio of the current flowing through that M5 transistor by CC. Okay, so SR is provided to you by the from the specification. CC we have just determined, so ITEL is in our hand. This is the second step. Okay, and ITEL or I5, whatever we may call, this plays an important role in the design, because if you see the schematic, the current flowing through the M3 and M1 transistors and M4 and M2 transistors, these are same, and basically half of the current flowing through the M5 transistor. So current flowing through M1 and M3, this is basically I5 by 2 or ITEL by 2, anything you can say, and the current flowing through M2 and M4 is also I5 by 2. Okay, so now we will go for the what is the basic requirement for the design of an any circuit, that is that for the transistor sizing, W by L ratio, we need to find out the aspect ratio of every transistor. Okay, from M1 to M7. Primarily we are considering for M3. At first we will consider the aspect ratio for M3. What is that M3? M3 means basically I5 by 2 equals to K3 dash, that is basically the mu and Cox product, and that is constant for a PMOS and NMOS, and it is given to you from the process data. Okay, then W by L 3 whole into VGS 3 VSG 3 minus VT 3, this square. Okay, so W by L I5 is basically K3 whole into W by L aspect ratio, I am just writing it as S. Okay, now what is VSG? VSG3 means VSG3 means VS3 minus VG3, the source voltage of the third transistor minus the gate voltage of the third transistor. Source voltage is basically VDD minus what is the gate voltage? Gate and drain is shorted for that M3 transistor. You can see from here that gate and drain is shorted. So this is basically VD3, and VD3 is basically nothing but VD1, that first transistor. Clear? Now on the verge of saturation of the M1 transistor, what is the equation? I mean what is VDS1 on the verge of saturation? VDS1 equals to basically VGS minus VT. Okay, so basically VT1 mean, because I am just trying to find out the maximum at least minimum value of that VDS1. I am just considering the worst case scenario. Okay, so the value that should give the maximum value of that VDS1, we should consider that. That is why I am just putting the value of VT1 minimum. Okay, what is VGS1? VGS1 means VG1 minus VS1 minus VT1 mean, and to have the maximum VDS1 at the input, at the gate of the first transistor, we need to give V in max. Okay, and at the source voltage, what is the source voltage? Source voltage of that M1 transistor, that is basically the drain to source voltage of M5, VDS5 minus VT1 mean. Okay, I will just put this value here and we will get the value of VSG3. Okay, so VSG3 means basically VDD minus this whole thing. Okay, just one thing, sorry, we need to put only VD1. Okay, and this is the value of VDS1. So we need not to consider about VDS5 or anything, because VDS1 cancels out. VD1 minus VS1 is basically VDS1. This VDS1 means VD1 minus VS1. Okay, this minus VS1 cancels out. So we are left with VD1 equals to VG1 minus VT1 mean, and VG1 is basically the V in max. Okay, so we are left with this equation that I5 equals to K3 dash S3 VDD minus, put that VD1 value there, that means V in max plus VT1 mean, VT1 mean minus VT3 square of this whole thing. Okay, square. So you can easily calculate S3 because I5, that means the tail current is known to us. K3 dash mu and Cox product is known to us. VDD we know, V in max we know, because these are all given in the specification. Okay, so we can clearly see that S3 is known to us, that means I5 divided by K3 dash and this whole thing in the third bracket. Clear? This is the aspect ratio of the M3 transistor, and we have previously told you, I have told you that the aspect ratio of M3 and M4 is same. So already we are done with M3 and M4 transistor. Now we will go for M1 and M2. Okay, to start with M1, what was the formula for GB? GM1 by CC. Okay, so GM1 is basically GB into CC. GB is provided to you by from the specification. You know GB and you know CC, so you will clearly find out GM1. Clear? Now what is the tail current, I mean what is the current through that M1 transistor? That is also I5 by 2. I'm not writing that, I am just writing that ID1. ID1 is basically K1 dash divided by 2 into S1, that is the aspect ratio of I1, into VGS1 minus VT1 whole square. Okay, that VGS1 minus VT1 whole square. So what is GM1? GM1 is basically del ID1 del VGS1. Del ID del VGS gives you GM. Okay, GM is basically, what is the formula? Del IDS del VGS, isn't it? So what we are left with, that del ID1 GM, this is basically GM1. So these two comes and these two cancels out, K1 S1 whole into VGS1 minus VT1. Okay, we are just squaring both sides and then replacing it something like this, isn't it? We are just squaring up, then K1 S1 oh sorry, 2 ID1 this should be, we are just replacing that thing. This is a simple calculation. So GM1 square is something like this. So from here S1 can easily be calculated. Okay, GM1 square divided by K1 dash into twice ID. What is twice ID1? Twice ID1 means basically I5, tail current. Okay, so S1 is known to us, that means S2 is known to us. So 4 of the transistors we have already done with, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we will go for the 5th transistor. Okay, that fifth transistor means that the current through the transistor through which the ITEL is flowing. Okay, for that we need to find out that VDS5. Primarily we need to find that VDS5. What is VDS5? VD5 minus VSS. Source voltage of the fifth transistor is basically at VSS. You can see from here. Source voltage of the fifth transistor is VSS and drain voltage is VD5. What is VD5? VD5 means basically that VS1, source voltage of the first transistor. Okay, so basically this is the first transistor. And what is VS1? VS1 we can just put it from here. Okay, say VGS1. VDS1 is basically sorry, VGS1 is basically VG in minus VGS1 means VG1 minus VS1. Okay, this is basically V in minus VS1. So VS1 comes up with VGS1, sorry, Vn main minus VGS1. You know all these things. VGS1 we know, Vn mean we know, so we know VS1, and just putting that value here we know VDS5. Okay, so if we know VDS5, then we can easily calculate S5, because I5 is nothing but basically K5 dash divided by 2 S5 into VDS5 square, isn't it? VGS minus VT, that is basically VDS5 square. So what is S5? S5 is basically twice I5 divided by K5 dash VDS5. You can see that from the formula, that WIL5 is equal to twice tail current, twice into tail current divided by K5 dash into VDS5 square. Okay, so we have found out, any query? I mean, we have found out the aspect ratio of fifth transistor also. So we are only left with I6 and M6 and M7, isn't it? There were 7 transistors. We are done with 5 transistors out of them. So we are just left with M6 and M7. Now we will proceed something like, what is GM6? From the formula, P2 equals to 2.2 GB. What is P2? P2 is basically GM6 divided by CL. And what is GB? GB is basically GM1. This is a simple formula which I just told you. What is GM6? GM6 is basically 2.2 times GM1 CL divided by CC. Clear? We know GM1, we know CL, and we know CC. So clearly we can find out GM6. Okay. Now, how we can find out S6? S6 is a simple formula, that is GM6 divided by GM4 equals to, basically this is equals to S6 by S4, because both of them are PMOS transistors, so mu and Cox has got a same value for both of them. Okay, so GM6 divided by GM4 is basically nothing but the S6 divided by S4, and we know all these things. GM6 we have just found out from the previous formula, GM6. Now GM4 is known to us, S4 is known to us, so we can find out S6. Clear? So only thing is that we are left with M7 transistor. So what is the current flowing through that M6 transistor? I6. What is the current through that? I6 is basically nothing but K6 dash into S6 into, okay, I am just putting that value regarding that related to GM. What is the formula between ID and GM? GM is nothing but, very good, I've just told written that 2ID into K dash for any transistor I am writing, K dash into S aspect ratio. Okay, so from here we can find out this ID, because GM6 is known to us, K6 is known to us, S6 is known to us. So ID6 we can easily find out. Clear? So these ID6, these will also flow through I7 or M7 also, the same current. Okay, the same current flows through transistor 7 also. So what is the A value, aspect ratio of transistor 7? Transistor 7, basically you can have the ratio, current ratio for the M5 and M7 transistor. M5 and M7 transistor means these two transistors. The current flowing through this transistor and through this transistor. What is the ratio of that? Both of them are NMOS. So basically the current ratio will be something like this: I7 by I5. This is nothing but S7 by S5. We are neglecting any short channel parameter effect. Okay. So this is nothing but what? I7 is basically I6, the same current flowing through this transistor. So I6 by I5 divided by equals to S7 by S5. We know I6, we know I5, we know S5. So we can easily find out S7. Clear? So all the transistors, the aspect ratio of all the transistors we have found out from M1 to M7. So during the design we will just start with L, somewhere near about 250 nanometer or 500 nanometer, and if we know the L of all the transistors, obviously we can easily find out the W of all the transistors. So we will start with those value. After that we will get the the results, whether it will meet the demands or not. Then after that we will just need to decrease or increase the value of L, okay, and subsequently changing the value of W. After initially we need to consider a value, arbitrary value near about 250 nanometer or 500 nanometer for every L, okay. Then we will find out W for every transistor, we will put that in the circuit, we will complete our design, okay. We will find out the value of everything, that means the power dissipation and that output voltage swing and all that stuff. So specification was given to us. We will see that whether these values, whether the values we just got from the design, whether these meet our specification or not. If it meets, then it's perfectly alright. If it doesn't meet, then what we should do? We should change the L according to your specification. Whether we have to increase or decrease, we need to consider that part also. Then we will change L, subsequently changing W, and we will then again redesign the, not redesign, basically reconsider the results, and we will check the results whether it is meeting the demands or not, requirements or not, okay. So this is the primary rule for designing. These are the observations which you should observe after the designing. Vout max, which is nothing but the drain to source resistor, drain to source voltage for the sixth PMOS, M6, okay, source to drain, M6, and Vout minimum is basically the drain to source voltage of M7 transistors, okay. So from here you can get the output swing, output voltage swing, Vout Vmax minus Vout max minus Vout min. And previously in the specification you were given with some voltage swing. So after the designing is done, you will check that whether you have met that demand or not, that requirement, okay. And what is the voltage gain? Voltage gain is also a requirement. So we will just go on multiplying and dividing all these things, and from the formula we will see that whether the voltage gain we have made our specification or not, okay. Then power dissipation is basically I5 plus I6. I5 means the whole tail current. What is the power dissipation of a circuit? That is the current drawing from the power supply multiplied by the voltage supply, okay. The voltage supply here is basically VDD plus VSS, nothing else, VDD plus VSS, because op amp works in between two rail, VDD and VSS. So total voltage supply will be VDD plus mod of VSS. Okay, and what is the total current? Total current is basically the tail current flowing through that M5 transistor and the total current flowing through that I6 and M6 and M7. So multiplying both these things, we will have power dissipation in the circuit. This will also be given to you before the designing. I mean from the specification you will get the value. So after the designing you will just check it out whether it is meeting that value or not. Okay. So now these are the issue which you should consider. This is noise and power supply rejection ratio. I am just giving an overall idea. Input referred noise is basically the output noise seen from the input. So what is that input input referred noise? Input referred noise basically for an NMOS, something like this. Here we have seen that there is a R0 resistance. Okay, and for every R0 resistance there is a there should be some thermal noise. What is that value for a resistive noise or thermal noise? That is 4 kTr. Okay, you know something about noise. I mean 4 kTr this formula. Okay, I am just telling you something that for every transistor resistor in the circuit, this resistor gives rise to some noise. Okay. This is called thermal noise or resistive noise, because this resistance is also a function of temperature. So this is called thermal noise or resistive noise, because this noise is basically 4 kTr, this value, and this resistor can be replaced as a voltage source with the value of this. This is the RMS noise voltage across these resistor. Okay, so we can we just replace this resistor as a noise free resistor, that is simple R, with a voltage source with Vn square. Okay, and if we just replace it with a current source, what will be the value of that current source? That means In square. What will be? We will use RMS value for the noise voltage or noise current. So what will be the value of In square? In square is basically nothing but 4 kTr divided by R square. Just simply dividing by Vn square by R square. Okay, that is basically 4 kt by R. Okay, so a voltage source resistance gives rise to a thermal noise of 4 kTr. So here at the output of a transistor there is a R0 resistance. So what will be the value of In square? In square is basically given as 4 kt gamma gm, and this gamma is basically a process parameter, a transistor parameter, and for a long channel device this is near about 2 by 3. Okay, which I have just used in the next calculation. So In square is basically 4 kt. See, 4 kt by R is basically 4 kt into some transconductance. 4 kt by R, this can be replaced as 4 kt into some transconductance, isn't it? 1 by R means transconductance, just conductance. So here the In square, that means for this transistor we can replace it like this In square, and this In square value is 4 kt gamma into Gm. We know the Gm of all the transistors. Whatever transistor we are choosing, we know all these things, and gamma is 2/3 for the saturation when the transistor is working in saturation, the gamma is 2 by 3 for long channel device. Okay, so all the transistors are working in saturation region, and this is obviously a long channel device. So that is that's why we are just choosing the value of 2/3. So what is the value of Vn square? Vn square is basically nothing but 4 kt 2/3 Gm whole into the resistance square. Clear? I square R square will give you the Vn square. So this is basically the thermal noise. And what about this flicker noise? Flicker noise, just you know the fact that flicker noise is basically proportional to 1 by f. Proportional to 1 by f. F means the frequency of the circuit. Okay, just this is called 1 by f noise or flicker noise. So flicker noise, both of them can be reduced by what? Vn square can be, I mean flicker noise can be reduced by increasing the area, that means WL. isn't it? If we increase the area, then flicker noise will be reduced, and if we reduce GM, then obviously that the thermal noise will be reduced. So after the design is completed, if we see that there are some more area, layout area means say you are given with a 2 millimeter into 2 millimeter chip area. Layout area means on what area you have to design your chip. Okay, the chip will be designed on chip area will be that thing. So after the design, after your design is completed, so you see that your required area is somewhat like 1.9 millimeter into 1.8 millimeter. So some area is still there, so you can trade off with something like that. You can increase the WL of each transistor so that the flicker noise gets reduced without affecting the value of each transistor, because we just increase L and with the same factor we will increase W, so that the aspect ratio of each transistor does not be affected, gets not affected. Okay. So these are the noise. And what is PSRR? PSRR, I am just giving you a simple idea that every voltage supply, there is two voltage supplies, VDD and VSS. Okay, every voltage, these are supposed to be constant, these are supposed to be DC voltage, VDD and VSS, but there may be a small perturbation in those voltages also, a small AC perturbation. Okay, variation may be. So these will obviously affect the Vout via these M6 transistor or via these M4 via CC. It will affect the value of Vout. Okay, if any perturbation happens in the VDD, it will affect the Vout through M6 or through M4 CC. And same thing happens for VSS also. If any perturbation happens in the VSS, it will affect Vout via M7. Clear? If we increase the length, experimentally we have found out one thing, that if we increase the length, then we can reduce the value of I mean this perturbation effect. We can reduce those effects. Same thing is applicable here. If we increase the length, we need to increase W, because our whole designing issue, whole design steps is based on one thing, that we have determined the value of aspect ratio. Okay, so we should not change them. If we need to increase L anywhere, we need to increase W also, so that the W by L ratio gets is constant also the design. Clear? So these are the basic rules and observations after designing. This is the noise and PSRR issues. This is the problem which you will be given today. And okay, one more thing. Okay, OTA you need not to. Oh, one thing. Test bench. We need to test the circuit after our design is completed. We need to test the circuit. Suppose we need to find out slew rate. What we should do? Slew rate means once our design is completed, we need to create a symbol. That means whole thing will be inside this symbol. Okay, this minus, this is the plus. We will give a step voltage here, pulse here, and for this unity wafer again configuration, if we give a pulse here for this input, you will get something like these are the output. Okay, from here if we find out the slope of these output, we will find the slew rate. Clear? So during the simulation, we need not to think about bother about the anything what happens in the circuit. We just need to introduce this symbol. We will put this symbol, we will put this voltage source and this CL, everything, and we will find the value of slew rate. This is called test bench. Test bench means this is the test bench for finding out slew rate. Test bench means to test the value of slew rate. What would be the circuit configuration? Not circuit configuration. What will be the overall symbolic representation? Okay. We need not to change anything in between the circuit. In the circuit, unless and until we does not meet the demand of slew rate. But slew rate is already given to us, so we will just find out the slew rate from this configuration, and we will just check it out whether it is meeting the value of our specification or not. Okay, this is the common mode response. Test bench for common mode. This is for slew rate. This is for CMR, common mode response. Common mode response is something. Instead of using two separate voltage supply for the minus terminal and plus terminal, we are using the same voltage supply. Okay, here as the AC and the DC. This will give you the difference between the positive terminal and negative terminal, and this will give you the common mode range, common mode response. Okay, differential mode response, I'm just showing you the configuration. Tomorrow you will get to know all these things, because you will need to do all these things in the lab. So this is the differential mode response. Okay, these are the test benches. So after your design is completed, you need to create a symbol. Create a symbol in the cadence simulator. You know how to create a symbol there. We will show you that, and then we need to test all these things: slew rate, common mode response, and differential mode response, and all these things. Clear? So this is the problem statement. Tomorrow in the lab we will need to design these op amp. Clear? You just write it down. For we need to implement these in 0.18 micron technology, that is 180 nanometer technology. Slew rate is given to us: slew rate, voltage gain, open loop voltage gain, gain bandwidth, load capacitance, power dissipation, ICMR plus, ICMR minus is given to us. Okay, just note down the problem statement and the specification you are given with. So design statement, okay, I am telling you, slew rate is 10 volt per microsecond. Yeah. Okay, I hope tomorrow when you will be present in the lab, you will have your all W by L data, W by L ratio. I mean, you will find out all the W by L's from these specification, from this value. You know the design steps, so you will find out all the aspect ratio from M1 to M7, and you will take L as 500 nanometer or 250 nanometer. That we will tell you tomorrow in the lab. Okay. So one last thing, just the basic configuration of OTA, because this is also an important whole. All these things what we have already discussed so far is regarding op amp operational voltage amplifier, voltage to voltage conversion. Okay, what if we need to sense a current at the output? That means voltage to current amplifier. That is basically operational transconductance amplifier. Okay, that is called OTA. I'm just showing you the basic structure of that. So here. These things happens here. And 3 and 4. This is the basic schematic for a OTA, operational transconductance amplifier. Just giving you a simple idea. Simple idea means okay. See, first see this configuration. This is basically a current mirror configuration. This M4 and M6. Say the ratio is 1:k. So if I4 flows, I flows through, say here I1 flows through this transistor. So K into I1 will flow through this transistor, isn't it? This is a current mirror configuration. So and we are taking the ratio as 1:k. I am just giving you an overall idea. If I1 flows through these M4 transistor, then K into I1 will flow through these M6 transistor. Same thing happens to here also. This is also a current mirror configuration. These M3 and M8. Okay. If I2 flows through these M3 and say here the ratio is 1:1, then the same current will flow through these. I2 will flow through this. Here. Here, say again this is 1:k. Okay, this is also a current mirror configuration. So here this is I2. Here this current is basically I2. This whole thing. So what will be the current through this? K into I2. So what will be the current here? Very good. KI1 minus KI2, because KI2 has gone through this part. So basically we are left with this portion. So difference of the current will be sensed at the output. Clear? So this is basically a OTA structure. We need not to do you need not to do anything with these in the lab. You will just go for designing these op amp. This the specification has already been given. SR, voltage gain, gain bandwidth. Okay. That 0.18 micron technology, you know na what is, I mean, what is the significance of 180 nanometer technology or 0.18 micron technology? I mean, what is actually this 0.18 micron or 180 nanometer? What actually is this? 250 nanometer or 180 nanometer, 130 nanometer? What is this? Minimum channel length. Very good. So we cannot go beyond these, I mean below this value. So we will take initially the value of length as 250 nanometer or 500 nanometer. So we will tell you that tomorrow in the lab what to choose. But before that, today at least you should be prepared with that W/L values. Okay. So you will just go through that. You need not to go through all these steps. I just showed you all these steps, that how the steps are coming. coming like this, but you need not to go through all these steps. You just need to use this formula to find out all these aspect ratio. I have shown you all the detailed calculation behind that formula, how it is coming out of nothing, this cannot come. So how it is coming I have shown you, but during the design you just need to put those values, and you need to find out a single unknown for every equation. Okay, this is basically a simple calculation. So I hope tomorrow you will be done with your W by L values. So thank you for all your cooperation. Any query?